Hello everyone and welcome back to I Was the Teenage Exocolonist, and let's just continue where we left off. Okay, well, we need to relax. So let's do that. This month you mostly just hang out in the garden and try to relax. You noodle on your holopalm, watch holo vids, chat on the colony's social media, and generally enjoy your time off without worrying about what you should be doing. Hey, we can remove a 1. Would prefer to remove the zeros first, but oh well. Ooh. I'll grab that. Anything else? No? Well, unfortunately, there's no point in trying to learn any physical things. Or red stats. So maybe do some other stuff, like maybe biology, get that up to 80. So let's do some xenobotany. Your work often overlaps with Tangent's work in the biochemistry and genetics lab, so it's not uncommon for her to pop by and ask questions about what you're working on, or for you to ask her for help interpreting some test results. She's uncharacteristically animated whenever she gets to talk about science, almost like she's a whole different person. She even laughs sometimes. Don't you think it's so interesting how Vertumna species resist being classified by any known taxonomy? She asks, peering into the root network you've sandwiched between pieces of clear glass. She stands up. It feels like everything is a little bit fungal, she says. Spores, fruiting bodies, mycellular networks, even in animals. Some animals here even photosynthesis. She nods excitedly. The division between plant, animal, and fungus is less strict here than it was on Earth. At the cellular level, many animal species have properties of plants and vice versa. She launches into an explanation of how high-energy bonds store energy and require a metal catalyst like iron in human blood and chlorophyll in green earth plants, but how the different hues of Vertumnum plants must mean they use an entirely unknown elemental catalyst, possibly not even a metal at all. It's a little advanced for you, but Tang is very excited about it. She stops and takes a breath, winded by her own monologue. Zounds, Selene, if Vertumnum plants and animals share an elemental catalyst and we found out what it is, we could learn so much about this planet. Help advance her theory? You show Tangent what you've been working on, all the samples and simulations, the results of scans and experiments. Incredible, Tangent says, going over your notes. We've been attempting to map the genomes of various samples in order to construct a phylogenetic tree, but we're at capacity already. Can I take this? Of course. Tangent smiles. Thank you, Selene. This is more helpful than I can say. Chief Engineer Instance forwards you some kudos for sharing your research. Hey, nice. Awesome. Very nice. Oh, wow. 30 kudos. Wow. Don't know if there's anything else of interest that I want to buy for kudos. Visit the depot. No, there's nothing. Wow. I guess I could talk to Mars. Oh, hey, Selene, Mars says, breezing past you. I'm sorry, I can't talk now. I'm on my way to work in command. She stops when you don't sound amazed enough. You know, the supply depot, and she clarified. It's the most important job in the whole colony. Anything that gets made here goes through me first. Uh-huh, sure it does. Mars's smug smile gets, somehow, even more smug. Plus, I get the first pick of all the best stuff. That's funny. I mean, that is interesting in the sense that it could possibly earn me some other stuff. Go straight to Seek and ask for a job. If Morris has something, you want it too. Well, not really. Administrator Zeke stares at you for a long time. Yes, they say finally. You're a proper, rule-abiding child. That's why you needed a rebellion? Perhaps you can keep an eye on that Mars. They walk away, clicking their tongue and muttering, that girl, honestly. Lol. Oh, that was funny. So what does it give? Organizing and persuasion. Okay. Well. So we now have 82 in that. Nice. Let's talk to you. Cal is listlessly kicking a sports ball around. This is kid stuff, he says, eventually just kicking it into the garden. Sports is just like war games for kids, you know? Winners and losers and thinking like your team is the best and everyone else sucks. He shrugs. I just like doing important stuff now is all. What are you working on? Cal is looking a little sickly. Well, I found this really pretty flower growing in the garden. I've never seen it before. You take a look at it and soon begin to feel sick yourself. Wait, is this plant radioactive? Ooh, that's not good. Wait, it's radioactive? Cal says, backing up quickly. Good thing you knew that. What do we do? You're not sure, but if you study it in the geoponics lab, you might be able to figure out how to neutralize the radiation. Okay. Hello again. Cal waves at you as you enter the garden, leaning on his shovel. Hey, Selene, he calls, but his eyes look past you down the path to where Anemone is beating the absolute tar out of a training dummy. Her fierce battle cries echo across the colony, making Cal wince. He's been going totally hard lately, huh? He says. He scratches his face, smearing dirt across his cheek. She asked me yesterday if I wanted to spar with her. She said it would be good for self-defense. Cal smiles sadly at the memory. I told her I don't want to fight. Not her, not a training dummy, and not anything on this planet. For real. I've never seen her get so mad at me. She called me a baby and told me I'm just gonna end up forcing everyone to protect me because I'm weak or helpless or whatever. He seems upset and stabs the ground a few times with his shovel. I just don't think it's right to fight anyone, especially the Xenos. They were here first. Exactly, he says. What do you think, Selene? I mean, yeah, sometimes you don't have a choice. Geez, you sound like an adult, Cal grumps. They always tell us to see both sides of an argument, but I tried and I just He shrugs. I just think if you have to hurt someone to get what you need, you don't deserve to have it. Well, at the same time, I mean, sure, we are invading. We are basically an invasive species right now. But like, are you saying that we should just let them do what they want during Glow? You know, the attacks during Glow? But what if your loved ones are in danger? I mean, that's totally scary, but you kinda shouldn't be putting your loved ones in situations where they could be in danger in the first place. But, I mean, here, like, really? That's what our parents did, basically. So, but what if they attack you first? Cal throws his arms up in disgust. If something attacks you first, you probably did something wrong. Maybe you shouldn't keep going places where things want to attack you. But what if your life depends on it? How is that fair? Their life depends on it too, Cal retorts. You can't just decide that you get to live and they don't. No, but I mean, even prey animals kind of fight back in the sense that they try to run away. So, I mean, But what if you're really hungry? Cal frowns and crosses his arms. I mean, that one's kinda on you. It ain't fair to kill something just because you didn't think ahead. Okay, he is definitely being naive because, he is just arguing for how the Xenos, it's fair for them to attack us in order to feed. We're not allowed to fight back, or, you know, if we fight back and kill them, we're not allowed to eat them. Like, what? Survival of the fittest, Cal. I mean, I agree. I mean, I hate the way that we are removing forests worth of mushwood. I hate that because it is probably irreversibly changing the planet and the surrounding nature. But yeah, I mean, we're here. We kinda need to try to survive, and we are going to try to survive. Not just gonna lay down and die. On the other hand, I would prefer it if we try to understand why they are attacking. Yeah, I mean, I know this is not going to be good for our friendship, Cal, but I have to say it. You're being naive, Cal. You tell him sometimes you just have to fight. Nope, Cal says. Nope, nope, nope. Nobody's life is worth more than anyone else's life. Tell that to predator animals? Like, really? It doesn't matter if they're human, xeno, or anything else out there. We all need to live in peace. Like I said, predator animals. Like, meat eaters. Seriously. Wow. Cal slumps. Sometimes I think about the xeno I had to kill the first time they attacked. Like, obviously I'm glad I'm alive, duh, but now it's dead. His eyes go back to Anemone. She's stopped sparring with the training dummy and is looking at the gardens as she has a drink. Neither she nor Cal wave at the other. It was an accident. I didn't mean to kill it, Cal continues quietly. It just happened. I wish I could tell it I'm sorry. I mean, honestly, it would not care. Cal has such strong convictions. It is one of the things you like best about him, even if you don't always agree with them. You spend a few hours following Cal through the garden. The adults have given him a portion of land to plan out for the next planting season. It's a big responsibility, but instead of feeling proud, you can tell Cal is a little distracted by your conversation. He keeps looking over in Anemone's direction, but she seems determined to ignore him. When you finally head out, you're just as dirty as he is. The dirt sticks under your nails no matter how many times you wash your hands. Oh boy. Maybe get some creativity or something. Or bravery. What do we get from this? Ah, creativity and bravery. So that's more worth it then. Okay, let's do that. You're relaxing after hours when Aunt Anne pops her head into the lounge. The kitchen, she announces in an artificially sweet voice, is looking for someone to help with part-time cooking duties. Someone young, someone responsible, someone organized. Someone, she stares pointedly at the teens in the room, who might have too much free time on their hands. Yep, sure. Volunteer? She bustles over to you. You'll be perfect, Selene, she says, hugging you. Then loudly to the others in the room she declares, I'm glad somebody around here is responsible enough to put in their share of work. I mean, no need to make the others feel bad. Everyone else ignores her, shifting awkwardly. No one wants to disappoint their auntie. Aunt Anne gestures towards the nearby cafeteria and tells you to come by next week so she can show you the ropes. Awesome! Hey! Extra card draw. Nice. Draw an extra card at the start of challenge. Awesome. Is the kitchen in here? Yes. Help in the kitchens. What does that give? Creativity, empathy. Nice. Okay. Let's do that then. You get to work in the kitchens. The first order of business is to find ways to stretch out what you already have. There's a kind of clay on Vertumna that's so rich in algae that it's actually edible. You boil it until it's runny, then skim the frothy algae clumps. Ew. That float to the top. That sounds so disgusting. It reminds you of old earth fables about peasants who would boil stones to make soup. Or other inedible things. Like your belt, a leather belt. The algae, at least, is nutritious. This sucks. The same can't be said for the sawdust. You catch Aunt Anne sifting it into the bread dough one morning, but instead of shooing you away, she just gestures you to come over and watch what she does. Yeah, they actually did that during the Second World War to make bread or flour last longer. You watch her strong, broad hands knead the sawdust into the dough. This is an old trick from Earth, she says. Sawdust is just a kind of inedible plant fiber like a kernel of corn. Your body can't digest it, but it doesn't hurt you. It just comes right back out looking the same as it went in. And in the meantime, she continues, we make enough bread so that everyone gets a piece and it makes them feel full. She sighs and rubs her nose with the back of her floured wrist. Most of our job is just helping people feel less hungry, Selene. We can't make anything more nutritious or serve more than we have. Making a little feel like a lot is something that people like you and me have been doing for their families since humans first started warming up their food over a campfire. Anne winks at you. Our family is just 100 people strong. I understand. She pats you on the shoulder, leaving a flowery handprint. I'm glad. I could use the help. Get to work. Cooking! Which is something that I enjoy IRL too. There we go. It's been 3 seasons of heavy food rationing, getting more and more strict as the year dragged on, and the fields continued to struggle. You've been wasting away, you all have. It's not just the lack of calories, there just aren't enough vitamins and good stuff in the food that you are eating. Your muscles ache all the time. Sometimes you feel strangely euphoric, filled with inexplicable energy, but often it feels like there are weights tied to your shoulders pulling you down. You're tougher than most, but you still have trouble sleeping despite being tired all the time. You spend the whole day in a dazed fog. It's hard to tell dreams from reality. Last week, you were brushing your teeth when you noticed that some of your teeth were wiggling. You brushed and watched all of your teeth begin to fall out of your mouth, clinking into the sink like pebbles and washing down the drain. Horrified, you started screaming, only to snap out of it and realize you'd been staring at yourself in the mirror the whole time, lost in an hallucination. Your friends stop working and retreat to their quarters. You lie to each other on the hollow nets, all saying you're okay, just taking it easy, waiting for the harvest. Well, the harvest came and went, as meager as ever. Your mother still hasn't given up and never rests, never stops working as much as your dad begs her to. She must be sleeping in geoponics because you hardly see her in the family quarters anymore. From where you lie nestled in bed in your cozy fugue, it all seems like far, far too much effort to bother with. Help your mom in geoponics. You're out there in the fields with her, being her sidekick, helping fetch things. She never slows down. When the robo-plow finally breaks under the pressure, she doesn't. She's out there even longer, doing everything by hand. Both your parents feel responsible for this famine, but as head of geoponics, your mom takes it personally. She's been skipping meals, relying on water and pressed soy bar rations, just enough calories to keep a body moving, but not enough to stay healthy. Yet she never lets up, working herself to the bone, barely even sleeping, increasingly sallow-eyed and gaunt. You and your dad try to slow her down, but, well, she's a stubborn woman. If not for her, she says, then who? Well, what are we gonna do when you work yourself to death, ma'am? You and your dad are in the lounge, slowly sipping your vegetable broth, when there's a commotion at the doors. Someone's run in, gasping for breath, yelling for you and your father to come to geoponics. Yeah, something has happened, hasn't it? You run over, knowing deep in the pit of your stomach that something terrible has happened. When you see the faces of the agriculturalists, your mom's people, you know that feeling is real. Your dad sees her body first. Yup. He lets out a cry like something you've never heard before, a deep, unimaginable pain, dragged up from the darkest parts of where fear lives. Yeah, I mean, you need sustenance and you need sleep. Your dad falls to his knees beside the frail body of your mother. He pulls her into his arms and sobs, wretched and agonized. You don't even know what to think. Your mom always seemed larger than her body, but seeing her now, there's nothing there, just a fragile shell. They tell you she didn't even cry out. She just went to her knees and then lay down in the dirt, and that was it. She's gone. For 3 months, wow. Your mother's body is taken to the incinerator room, and that night the colony gathers to pay their respects. Do you join them? Well, yes. Like Tammy's funeral, the incinerator room has been cleared and a wreath of flowers placed over the mouth of the organics recycler. They're white astrantia, your mother's favorite flower, carefully carried from Earth with the hopes of it flourishing on Vertumna, just like you. You stand with your father and Aunt Anne. Eudicate and the rest of the council are here as well, including Rhett.
You're surprised to see tears rolling down his face. He's such a hard ass in the garrison. Cal is here with all the other agriculturists. The rest of the colony waits in the canteen to offer their condolences after the service. Governor Utica gives the eulogy. As a colony, we share our blessings, she begins solemnly. However, today, in sad company, we gather to share the burden of our grief. Fluorescent was born on Earth, but she, more than many of us, exemplified the spirit of our endeavor to bring life to beyond the stars. She bore life, not only in her body, but bringing it forth from the ground she so faithfully attended. The debt we owe to her is the kind that can never be repaid, she continues. It is with a deep and unbearable grief that we must continue on without her, in awe and respect for her sacrifice, the depth of which was never expected of her, but which she did not expect of anyone else. It is on her strong shoulders that she carries us still. Utica closes the door to the recycler, and the particle disintegrators begin to reclaim the molecules that once formed your mother. Your father squeezes your shoulder, making a small, choked-off noise of pain. As a community, we remember Fluorescent. As a community, we return her body to the soil that nourishes us. In this way, her sacrifice is recognized in the manifest body of the colony. The ceremony is adjourned to the canteen, where a somber wake is held in your mother's memory. There isn't enough food to dull the emotions, and your empty stomach only reminds you of her unfinished work. Your father is the new head of geoponics. In a few hours, he receives your mother's remains so that he can add them to the colony's precious supply of brown soil from Earth. You touch the cool lid of the container, marveling that your mother could fit in such a small box. You don't have to be. Okay, your dad says quietly. His voice is thick with emotion. I know, I'm not. I have to keep going where she left off, but if you can, you should take some time off. I mean, I have to because my stress is 100. So yeah, take the month off. Oh boy, we're in glow. Yay. The prospect of just going back to work like everything is normal is too much to handle. The sun's dip below the horizon and glow begins. You end up spending the whole month alternating between sleeping, scrolling the HoloNet, and staring to space. It's restful, at least. A few days after the funeral, surveyors return with an unexpected bounty from the Valley of Vertigo. It's enough to survive for another month, until the new year maybe, if you keep rationing. The colony will continue to limp along, but without your mother. The roar wakes you. It would wake the dead. It shakes the walls, rumbles through the ship's hull, and makes your heart skip a beat. You're paralyzed by a sudden clench of fear in your gut. Through your porthole window, you hear metal screeching and people shouting. Then another roar, guttural and rumbling like the sound of a mountain collapsing. Something enormous is out there. Sure, run out to face it? You don't know what gives you the courage, but you run out to the fields to face the horrible creature, Oh, wow. What is that? Hello, Anemone. It has no face. Nope. In place of a face, or even a head, its body just unzips, revealing a mess of writhing pink tentacles and blinking eyes. Pocked with jagged asymmetrical teeth, it stands on 4 enormous powerful legs, each as wide across as tree trunks. Clinging to its back and its thick slug-like tail are clumps of lichen that glow faintly in the night. The creature is nearly twice the height of a greenhouse. It's standing on top of a flattened one, the wreckage of lattice and plants all around. Flickers of light from plas rifles and stun gloves light it from underneath, and the stench of ozone is thick in the air. Like, how do you chase that away? Because I don't think we can beat it. You see Nem and her brother Calm darting in and around its legs with their twin shocks of red hair. The faceless creature lurches into another greenhouse, oblivious to the soldiers trying to herd it away. The monster left a trail of destruction from where it smashed right through the walls. Smaller creatures are pouring in through the gap and heading towards... They're headed straight to command. You watch helplessly as the hordes of animals storm command, sneaking through torn away panels and smashing through windows. It's too far away to hear the screams, but Governor Uticud is inside. You have to do something. I mean, she's one person, and that is our food. Well, not our food supply, because it's not really supplying much food, but like, it's where the food grows. I feel like if I do that, she dies. If I do that, one of them dies. Like, probably Calm. Or Rhett. I'm definitely not doing that. I mean, how long does she have left anyway? I know that's a crass way of looking at it, but I mean, we're in a bad situation here. Let's help Nem and Calm. You run towards Geoponics, picking up a handful of rocks as you cross through the barren fields. When Calm sees you, he gestures for you to flee. "Get out of here, Selene," he says. "You're gonna get yourself killed." You grip your rocks in defiance. You're sick of being told to hide like a child. You want to help. Okay, wow, that is high. I'm glad that I'm at 0 stress, because that means I can at least, get some, or take on some stress. Let's do that. I mean, 35 stress is worth it, honestly. You try your hardest, but even with the full force of the defense squad, you can barely keep it contained near the farms. You dart in and around the battle, throwing rocks and making noise to keep the abomination's attention away from the rest of the colony. Its tentacles whip around, slapping the ground and knocking into people, picking them up and throwing their helpless bodies like dolls, only to be crushed under its massive trunk-like feet. The fields are littered with bodies of the fallen. Sweat stings your eyes, but you somehow stay on your feet. Others aren't so lucky. "Selene, watch out!" Calm cries out, and you look up just in time to dodge the wet slap of a tentacle, tripping over a body and sprawling to the dirt yourself. The Faceless makes a horrible noise from deep inside its craw, flecking you with spittle as your guts liquefy from the near miss. You're close enough to feel the sick heat radiating out of it. It doesn't have a face, but you realize with horror that it sees you. Yeah, it does have eyes on those. Zzzt! The beam of a plas rifle arcs over your head, and the Faceless roars again and turns its terrible attention to Calm. Of course. You scream and uselessly cover your head as it lumbers over you. As you scramble to your feet, you see Calm go flying through the air. He lands a few meters away with a sickeningly wet crunch. Is anyone supposed to survive? I feel like this is just a slow decline year for year, basically, where our colony is just dying. Yeah. I mean, it might be me choosing the wrong things, but yeah. Nem cries in horror as she runs to Com's side, but it's too late. His body is bent at an unnatural angle, his eyes open and his face frozen in stupefied terror. He looks unreal, like a wax mannequin. He's just gone, like that. Nem lets out a primal scream of pain, and you can see the thought ignite in her mind, contorting her face with ugly fury as she stands up to launch herself at the Faceless again. And that's just stupid. You grab her arm and she yells at you in wordless rage before collapsing to her knees, throwing her body over Com's and sobbing like the scared teenager she is. You can only stand and watch. You hear a colossal cracking noise and look up to see the Faceless stumble towards the stratospheric. With a roar that shakes your very molecules, it loses its balance for the last time and falls onto the ship. Metal screams as the ship buckles and gives way. Whole pieces of quarter's wing shear off as your home opens like a tin can, spilling its contents into the square. The strato lurches and collapses under the creature's weight. The abomination is slain, but as wails of grief join the whimpers of the dying, you have to wonder, at what cost? Yeah, and like, would it have even been any better at all if I had gone to Utica? I highly doubt it. The council calls an all-colony meeting to face the aftermath of the attack. In the oppressive gloom of glow, you gather near engineering with the other survivors. It's one of the few buildings still standing. The corpse of the Faceless still sits in the caved-in wreckage of the stratospheric, spilling its flaccid pink tentacles from its horrible zipper-toothed maw. It's already beginning to stink. You can't forget what you saw. Your mind keeps replaying that terrible moment, the Faceless rearing up and obscuring the sky, Nem and her brother looking so small before it. Governor Utica was killed by the smaller creatures that swarmed command during the attack. In her absence, Seek addresses the colony. The council acknowledges the bravery of the defense squad, citing their heroism in finally taking down the Faceless. Geoponics is gone, the greenhouse is destroyed, and the fields trampled. After a year of suffering, starving, and only barely scraping by, you're not just back where you started, it's even worse. Everything your mom sacrificed herself for, gone in one night. The entire front half of the stratospheric has been destroyed, the living quarters, the canteen, the garrison, the lounge, even the creche, it's all gone. It's only by some stroke of luck that people hiding in the creche weren't all killed. Zeke solemnly reads the names of those who lost their lives, too many, including Governor Utica. You all stand for a moment of silence. You feel the weight of loss like a blow to your chest. Nem and her family cry out when her brother Com's name is called, and their quiet sobbing continues through the silence. With the living quarters destroyed, everyone moves into the engineering wing for shelter. You're crowded into the classroom with other families. The adults try to make it seem like a sleepover, but you're all still so shaken. Nem cries about her brother and screams at anyone who tries to comfort her. Eventually, you just ignore her grief, as painful as it is to hear her sobbing at night. You feel like you've been awake for days and you'll never fully sleep again. You try, but you keep jerking awake, crying out in fear. Eventually, you fall asleep sitting up, held in your father's arms. Your sleep is fitful, but mercifully dreamless. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like, what's the point? I do not believe in miracles, so yeah. So engineering is the only thing to have any activity in. Oh boy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!